Change. That was the slogan for the Labour government at the last general election. You wanted change. I wanted change. A slogan that is a powerful slogan. There were many things that people were not happy with. And when people are not happy, emotionally challenged, they want change. So by them saying simply change, what ended up happening was a lot of votes went to Reform UK. It decimated the Conservatives, and a byproduct of the first past the post was Labour got a third of the votes, but then 2/3 of Parliament, a majority. Then on the victory speech, Keir Starmer said, change begins now. Change that we all desperately need and want, desire, because of what is happening in everyday lives. The rise in energy costs that are crippling everyday people and businesses at scales has never happened in history before. The most expensive energy costs across multiple countries when you compare what we are paying compared to others. When you think of what's happening in everyday people's lives and salaries, due to the significant raises of costs, inflation for groceries, for products, services, money's being squeezed. Then on top of that, you have an increase in taxes, whether that is a tax on jobs like employers increasing national insurance. This is all relating to a fundamental halt and really non-existent growth in the UK. When you also think over the last over a decade of the previous government, immigration also went through, I don't even think you can say the roof at this point. It skyrocketed. This had a significant impact on everyday requirements like the NHS, the appointment waiting times. You're on the roads, on the motorway. There's just traffic, there's more traffic. When you think of there's more traffic, there now needs to be more maintenance on roads. That's why one of the things that we notice is there's always motorway maintenance, there's always road closures. And this fundamentally comes from the rise in population. Housing crisis. In order to keep up with the amount of houses that are required, it's literally tens of thousands. This then, due to supply and demand, this then makes housing prices go up, and first-time buyers that want to get onto the property ladder, they're finding it near enough impossible to have one of the most amazing feelings and most amazing life achievements, being able to, purchase their own home for their family. Many of these things were going back 30, 40, 50 years ago. These were all accessible for everyday people because people had the ability to get on the housing market. People had the ability to get appointments for NHS. People had the ability to pay for their council tax and feel like they're actually getting worth of their money. Now, today, you see litter on streets, you see a decline in what you get in return for many of the things publicly that we all contribute to. So therefore, change was a slogan that is a easy, powerful slogan, but what is actually desperately needed from the observation, the conversations, from the comments, people want real change. Real change. I spoke recently about a book called The Fourth Turning. The Fourth Turning by an author called Neil Howe. He talks about we are in the fourth turning, and the fourth turning is a crisis. A crisis is when so many of our everyday lives, from public sector to private sector to NHS to social to health to education to infrastructure, a crisis happens on a macro scale, usually happens every generation, once in a generation, when many of these basic necessities are not fit for purpose. This fundamentally brings down the well-being of a nation. You couple this with the globalism and the real risk of losing industries. Behind me is British Steel, which is one of many industries that I'm sure we could talk about that has had severe consequences to policies over the last number of decades. All this comes to a crunch point. And in the book, Neil Howe refers to when the end of a crisis occurs and we go back to a high, back to the first turning, a high, not just one thing is changed, everything is changed. Everything is addressed. Everything, not just immigration, not just healthcare, everything across the board is really changed to bring everything to a standard to live life safely, happily, be able to spend time with loved ones, have a great career, work hard, do your bit for society. Everything has changed. The current crisis started in 2008 at the financial crisis when the government bailed out the banks. And this crisis is predicted to end around 2027, 2028. What that means is you have a figurehead, you have a president in like Donald Trump, whether you like him or I like him or you don't like him or I don't like him. This is the reason why it's been unprecedented, the amount of executive orders that Donald Trump has signed in the first 100 days. He has essentially signed executive orders across all walks of social, economical life of America. Make America great again. Make America safe again. Make America proud again. Make America rich again. This period of time, when we think about change, this is the time where me and you, we have the ability to make real change happen. How do we make that happen? We have to continue to communicate like this. We have to tackle real conversations on the real streets. We have to tackle and have the courage to see perspectives that maybe I can't see and maybe that you can't see. just because me and you may disagree on a particular topic, doesn't mean that I'm wrong or I'm right. It doesn't mean that you're wrong and you're right. It's about coming to a table to say what actually is the truth, what are the facts, and what can we truly do to make a difference, a real change. So that is why something like a Reform UK, Reform essentially means the changing of so many things. That's what I wanted to share with you today. What change do you want to see? What real change needs to occur? And then we need to have the courage, we need to have a political party, a political leader that's willing to be disruptive, that's willing not just to be a yes person, and somebody that's willing to make real changes happen. So let me know. Comment down below, let me know. Please give it a big thumbs up if you agree or don't agree. Hit the subscribe button. My name's Kev, coming from Uncensored Streets. I've got great videos coming up very soon, but I've got this video right here that's going to recommend to you that YouTube thinks that you'd really enjoy. I look forward to speaking to you in the next video.